Is it a requirement for you to run a skimmer on your saltwater aquarium? Let's talk about it. Hey, I'm Logan from Reef Rookies, where we're growing super fast and would love to have you over as a member for more in-depth conversations. There's a lot of benefits to having a skimmer, and there's a couple of things that you probably need to keep in mind. And one of the main things that I like about them is they mechanically remove dissolved organic compounds from the water column in the aquarium. They take them out and they hold them in a cup, so they're no longer part of the system and you can get rid of them later. Now, this is a gross oversimplification of what a skimmer actually does, but in the spirit of this channel, I'm keeping things simple for you. Back in the day, some 30 years ago or so, when marine aquaria was going through this phase where everybody was DIYing stuff and building things and all of this, foam fractionators became a thing, and that was kind of a cool thing on the market. We started DIYing these things, putting them together with PVC pipes and stuff like that, which eventually led to what we have today as the modern day skimmer. Now, if you're over from the freshwater hobby, this is not the same thing as a freshwater skimmer. Usually that's to clean floating detritus off the surface of the water. In saltwater, a skimmer, which looks like this, or maybe this, instead pulls things from the water column within the middle of the water. Water's pumped through the skimmer, all the bubbles are made, the stuff attaches to the bubbles and it floats up and goes into the cup, and that's where it sits. So this is just one of the benefits of having a skimmer on your tank. Another benefit is that it helps to stabilize the pH. It introduces an obscene amount of oxygenation into the tank, and that, along with all of the other water parameters, specifically alkalinity, helps to make the pH stay kind of where you want it to be. You can raise your pH by a couple of points just by adding a skimmer to your system. So if you have a problem with pH being too low all the time, anything below 7.7, and you want to bump it up to maybe 7.9 or 8, add a skimmer. And while we're talking about it, the increased oxygenation that you're going to get from a skimmer vastly outweighs any surface agitation that you can get by any other means, really. Adding a skimmer is going to absolutely make sure that you don't have an oxygenation problem. Now, these are just a few of the benefits of having a skimmer on your tank, but what are the cons of having a skimmer? Well, you can overskim a tank and you can strip that tank of all the available nutrients, and your corals start having problems, and maybe you end up with other issues like dinoflagellates, which tend to grow best in a low nutrient environment. So you're going to want to size the skimmer properly to go along with the size of your tank, and sometimes they can be a little bit finicky to get set correctly, because anything that you put in the water is going to affect how the foam happens inside the skimmer. If you feed the tank, the skimmer might go crazy. If you add coral food, it's definitely going to go crazy. So oftentimes we just turn the skimmer off for 30, 45 minutes to an hour, something like that. We'll do what we got to do, turn the skimmer back on and let it do its thing again. Now, here's one important note that I'm going to leave you with. When you set up a skimmer, brand new, clean skimmer, it is not going to work exactly as you think it should. It's going to have to go through a break-in process. Now, some people argue with me on this, and they clean their skimmer every 3 days, and they make sure it's perfectly clean. In my time of doing this, I find it's better to leave the skimmer a little bit dirtier, because a dirty skimmer tends to work better. A biofilm builds up on the inside of the skimmer, and it just seems to do a better job. It's more controllable and just overall easier to use. So when somebody asks me the question, should I have a skimmer on my saltwater tank? My recommendation is always yes, but that doesn't mean that you absolutely have to have one. However, if you're going to run a tank with no skimmer, you're going to want to make sure that your bioload stays a little bit lower in that tank, and you're also going to have to keep up with that nutrient export in other ways. So if this video helped you at all understand a little bit more about saltwater aquaria, make sure you hit the subscribe button and leave a comment if you have a question about something. I'll be sure to make a video answering that. Oh, and by the way, check this one out right here.